I have been getting flooded with messages all week from you guys asking about Chris Olave and whether the New Orleans Saints are actually going to pay him. The news is that Mickey Loomis finally addressed the possibility of a long-term contract extension, acknowledging there have been a couple of conversations but stopping short of calling it a current priority. This matters because Olave is a cornerstone of our offense, and his next deal will likely reset his market value. There are two things to discuss: the reality of these initial talks and what his future means for the Saints. And honestly, the more details come out, the harder it is to ignore what is going on behind the scenes. Hit the like button, subscribe, and drop your name and city in the comments below. Let us get into it. The New Orleans Saints are officially at a crossroads regarding the future of star wide receiver Chris Olave as the organization navigates a critical offseason. Since being drafted, Olave has been a cornerstone of the offense, consistently proving his worth on the field through his reliable hands and playmaking ability. As we look at the current landscape, the Saints have officially picked up the fifth-year option on his rookie contract, setting his cap hit at over $15 million for the 2026 season. However, he becomes a pending free agent after that campaign unless a long-term deal is struck. General Manager Mickey Loomis recently confirmed that while there have been a couple conversations with the receiver's agent, the front office has not prioritized the extension just yet. For us fans, this situation carries heavy emotional weight because we have watched Olave grow into the identity of this offense. We know the cost of keeping talent is rising, especially when looking at the 4-year, $130 million extension the New York Jets gave to Garrett Wilson, a player whose career numbers align closely with our own star. Here's the thing nobody wants to say out loud: waiting too long to secure a cornerstone player often leads to unnecessary friction or a significantly higher market price down the road. Olave himself has already expressed his desire to stay, citing his confidence in head coach Kellen Moore and the stability of having a strong quarterback situation as primary motivations. It is a relief to hear his commitment to New Orleans, but we must ask ourselves if the front office is truly aligned with his timeline. With these contract discussions looming, we have to look past the headlines and examine if the current salary structure can actually sustain a massive long-term investment while filling other glaring holes on the roster. The most surprising element of this contract saga is that the New Orleans Saints front office is already openly acknowledging active discussions with Chris Olave despite a season that only just concluded. This urgency reflects a shift in organizational philosophy as General Manager Mickey Loomis works to secure our core talent under head coach Kellen Moore. Historically, we have seen this team struggle with salary cap gymnastics, often forcing tough goodbyes to fan favorites. Yet, keeping a talent like Olave is a clear attempt to establish long-term stability. The financial stakes are undeniably high, especially when observing the massive 4-year, $130 million extension recently granted to a peer from the 2022 draft class, which sets a daunting benchmark for any future deal. Behind closed doors, Gayle Benson and the leadership team are likely weighing the risk of waiting against the necessity of building an identity around a consistent receiver. They recognize that if Olave hits the open market after his 2026 cap hit of over $15 million, the cost to retain his services could skyrocket beyond current projections. The bottom line here is that Olave has made his intentions known, stating that the consistency provided by Kellen Moore and our current quarterback situation makes him eager to stay in the Crescent City for the foreseeable future. While the front office remains methodical, taking a wait-and-see approach as the offseason begins, we must remember that rare receiving talent is the engine of a modern offense. By locking him in now, the team avoids the leverage games that often define the final year of a rookie contract. We are at a crossroads where fiscal prudence meets the reality of the market, and how we handle this decision will define the trajectory of our offense for years to come as we build toward championship contention. Transitioning from the raw news of these contract discussions, we have to consider what this development truly signals for our organization. Now, here's the thing: the urgency regarding Chris Olave is about more than just keeping a talented player on the field. It is about establishing a permanent offensive identity under head coach Kellen Moore. By locking down a cornerstone receiver, we ensure that our signal caller has a reliable, familiar weapon which stabilizes the entire depth chart for the foreseeable future. If we can solidify this deal, the cap hit of just over $15 million for the 2026 season becomes a manageable investment rather than a looming question mark that could disrupt our financial flexibility elsewhere. This stability is the bedrock of success in a league that changes so rapidly. When we look at our upcoming schedule, having Olave cemented in the lineup provides a significant advantage against our divisional rivals, who are constantly fighting to rebuild their own secondary units. Knowing we have a proven playmaker gives us the tactical upper hand in high-pressure matchups, where a single big play determines the outcome of the game. Our playoff aspirations depend on this kind of offensive continuity, especially when we face opponents who lack a clear, long-term leader on their outside receiving core. Securing our best talent early allows management to focus their remaining resources on other critical needs, effectively bolstering our overall chances of postseason contention. We are watching a pivotal shift in how this team handles its stars, and ensuring Olave remains in New Orleans is the correct move to maintain our competitive edge in a tough conference. If we get this right, we are not just keeping a player. We are signaling to the entire league that the Saints are serious about competing for championships during this current window of opportunity. Locking up Chris Olave for the long term is a move that provides the New Orleans Saints with essential stability during this transitional period under Kellen Moore. By securing a talent who has already proven his worth on the field, we ensure that our offense maintains a reliable anchor for years to come. Think about it this way. When you have a player with Olave's proven production who explicitly expresses a desire to remain in New Orleans, you avoid the disruptive uncertainty that often follows a pending free agent. The massive 4-year, $130 million deal signed by Garrett Wilson with the New York Jets demonstrates exactly what the market demands for a receiver of this caliber. However, we must acknowledge the financial risk involved in such a substantial commitment. Allocating such a high percentage of our salary cap to one position can limit our flexibility to address other roster holes. And history shows that long-term deals for wide receivers do not always guarantee continued high-level output. While analysts are currently focusing on the high-end precedent set by players like Garrett Wilson, the reality of the business is that Mickey Loomis and his staff must weigh these numbers against the total health of our team's finances. Some pundits suggest the front office might wait to see how the market evolves, perhaps looking at other high-profile receivers before setting a final price. Here's where I land on this. While the hype around a massive deal is exciting, I believe the internal focus on taking things slowly is actually the wiser path to ensure we build a championship roster around our stars, rather than just investing in one. A team is only as strong as its foundation, and we need to balance this star power with a smart, sustainable salary structure moving forward. When you combine the uncertainty of contract negotiations with the genuine desire from our star receiver to stay in New Orleans, the outlook for this team becomes very clear. This isn't just about one contract. It signals that our franchise is prioritizing stability around Kellen Moore to build a sustained competitive window over the next few seasons. As fans, we should feel optimistic because Chris Olave has expressed a sincere commitment to being here, citing his confidence in the current quarterback room as a primary reason for wanting to solidify his future. And the more I look at this, the more it feels like a turning point for how we construct our offense. We are looking at a scenario where locking in a high-caliber playmaker is not just a luxury, but the foundational step for success in 2026 and beyond. Having a reliable target who wants to be in our city is exactly what we need to build that long-term trust and chemistry on the field. It is a refreshing shift to hear a player openly acknowledge that the stability of the organization influences their desire to sign a long-term deal. While Mickey Loomis mentioned that they are still early in the process, the fact that conversations have started is a positive sign for everyone who bleeds black and gold. We have seen how expensive these receiver contracts have become, with market prices reaching upwards of $130 million. So we know this will be a significant investment for the team. Does a long-term extension for Chris Olave deserve to be the absolute top priority for our front office this offseason? If you enjoyed the video, do not forget to like it and subscribe to the channel. Who dat? I'll see you in the next one.